on, she's just like.
Chilling every day, huh? That's awesome.
And then the kids talk about it.
I got my bell ringer done.
That's good.
I mean, that's to me a huge indicator.
She already has her bell ringer done.
I'm a nerd. I don't know when the other two teachers are.
Well, that's like masters degree now.
I'm working on my second one
Oh
now.
my goodness. So you have some other people coming from your team?
Yeah, Eggers and Alvita, they're both in the bathroom, they said they'd be.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, Eggers said, how soon do we have to be there?
Oh, like now.
So you can get on our fraternity bid for
Angela Nunez and Karma both came over 10 minutes late to class. We had to use the bathroom. It does not take
They get my
15
class
minutes to
and
be.
I'm calling them.
Well, I was just down bottom of the stairs.
And I was being Starlight. I'm like, did you have a newspaper in there?
Karma was
They were like, what?
running through the hall.
Yeah.
She gets to the bottom of the stairs and goes, wait. It just stops and stays.
Who does?
Karma.
You didn't bring your Chromebook, did you?
Nope. We need it?
Yeah,
You
you're
guys are
supposed
on
to
the
bring it.
Chromebooks, you go to the link I sent you to the site, it'll have all of our resources. So our bell ringer is going over a word that is said all the time, and admin, buzzword, but it's really hard to kind of describe it. It's definitely different for most people. But once you guys get it down, we're going to come back to it just to kind of get us started, get us primed.
Well, be next or something.
You can sit at that table too, Mary. Just have a seat over here too. Two different groups.
I don't know, you and Alvita in a group?
The distraction. Teacher now is a student there. We need
Those
a
coach people, right? I think I'm the only one on our team alpha that doesn't coach something. But I have. And what did you used to coach?
I still coach tennis. Yeah, in debate. That counts as a sport.
Always wanted to do like speech and debate because I love to teach in speech.
I love coaching debate. It's definitely it's a sport for your brain. It's the same sort of competition and preparation and exhilaration. It's awesome. And kids who do it, they always stick with it. They don't ever want to do it, and then they do it, and they're like, "This is great." So, I'm gonna have some flyers out probably next week and some posters to get signed up for the debate team. Ms. Eggers, get the bell ringer. So we have bell ringers on the board. We need to get started on this. If you guys can quickly write that definition down. Ms. Jones working on her paragraph over there. I think she has this.
No.
You need two dry erase boards.
Hillary got straight to the point science teacher response.
Right. Draw a chart. And a little graph.
But I'm the writing
Features and stuff. You didn't write it down. It's consistent. You understand the meaning.
So we're going to model a lot of different structures in here, things that you can use in your classroom, and a lot of variations. But one's a mixed pair share. So when you're teaching and you feel your kids disconnecting from you, when they've been sitting too long, you often want to do a mixed pair share. What's going to happen is the kids are going to pair up, but not with the person next to them. The idea is to get them up and moving around someone else in the room. So the way this is going to work is when you hear the music, you're going to get up and just stroll around. If you want to then get yourself a banana or something, stroll around the room. If you want to check out a post, check it out. But when the music stops, you're going to pair up with the person next to you. And the way you pair up is that you hold your hand up and high-five each other. and then say something nice. It sounds corny and you don't want to do it, but the reason why you do it is when you high-five somebody, and he says, nice to meet you, you immediately start breaking down these barriers. Kids have these walls up between them. When I have to act goofy or made to give high fives, it relaxes me, and all of a sudden now I'm able to talk to somebody. So having kids say, good morning, it takes away some inhibitions that they already have built up. So make kids have to say this, speak to each other. It helps with the process. All right, so then you pair up, then I will then direct you who's going to speak first. But take your definitions with you. All right, so wait to the music.
What's that mean, no card?
And
What?
everybody up? Little exercise going.
What's that mean, no card?
Of course, we're gonna go put the table. I'm
Take
exercising.
it.
I already got you.
I have cards.
All I have is like brown.
Cookies, cookies.
Holy cow.
What's up?
I'm supposed to be trying to lose weight.
All right, so hands up. Pair up. Okay.
Ah!
All right. So the person who woke up earliest, who's the person who woke up earliest? Between you and your pair.
Oh.
You.
15?
I was like 4.
Okay. So the person
no.
who woke
I
up
played at my
earliest is
mom.
going first.
Okay.
All right.
I
So
woke
just
up
share
at
your
5
definition.
o'clock.
You can explain what you mean by
I
it.
beat you.
Yes.
Rigorous instructional activities and other tasks that are challenging on the intellect.
All right.
How much?
So they're meant
did you
to
do?
Rigor?
make you think a little bit.
All right.
As
Okay.
long as I don't see.
So rigorous work that is consistent with the student. So consistent meaning they're constantly working.
Gotcha.
What was your definition?
So I had put, basically.
And then switch on your own?
Pushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only had a
higher.
seven.
I have 3 words.
She beat you. She's the math
If
lady.
you haven't yet, tell your partner what a great answer that was.
That's great answer.
All right, and back to your
Was
seat.
it really, or is it just bullshit?
Well, we were
Do I
told
have
to do it.
Okay, I want a cookie. Okay, 2 cookies.
What we're looking at today is looking at communicating what, the how, and the why, and why that is so important. We're also going to look at another descriptor in standards and objectives that talks about what the demanding and high expectations are. And the way we're going to look at that is how we manipulate rigor and what is rigor in our classrooms, and how that will affect everything else that we do in our classrooms and what we do in PLCs. Quickly, because this will be up here every week, this is our norms. So the way I took your answers, compiled any similar answers, and then we grouped them. So we have things on here about arriving on time, in order so we can start on time to make sure we get everything done on time. Making sure that we don't have people who dominate conversations and talk all about their class the entire time we're in here, so we can't focus on what we need to get to. We had to talk about listening, about when our partner's talking, we're actually listening to them and giving them the validation and respect that they deserve. About not being distractions in here, about being joking around and someone else can't listen to what's going on. You guys mentioned things about this being a safe place, a trusting place, where our conversations then aren't told to administrators, aren't told to students. That this is our community of teachers working to be better teachers. Decision making, that we should be here for a purpose, and we should come out here with a plan every day. And what are we going to be doing to improve ourselves? That we are actively, equally participating. No hogs, no logs. You don't have someone who sits in here, does nothing, and someone in here who wants to answer every question. All right? We are equal members of growth here. And then being positive, ready to learn, professionals. I am recording this one, but I don't have to put this one on there. I'll have this up here, and if we do need to focus, we'll focus back up to it. So what is our what today? Our what? This is what teachers want to be able to do when they lead. Right? That I can add complexity or take away complexity from my lesson. That I know how to do that. I know how to extend thinking or take back thinking. Right? And the way they're going to do that is we're going to have a form called our rigor matrix. It sounds really cool. But it's just going to be this template that's going to allow you to take the same objective and manipulate the thought process. And the reason why is that demanding lessons, rigorous lessons, lessons where kids are engaged in their thinking, that's how you get buy-in. We all don't want the apathetic student, the student who doesn't care about their learning. They don't care about their learning because they have no agency, no investment. We get investment through lessons where kids are invested and have choice and and care about their learning. So the rigorous lessons, ones that kids have to think, they get invested, and then that improves learning. So the first reason why we do this in our classrooms is because our rubric says this is what effective instruction is. Our rubric says that we should explicitly communicate what we do, our objective. It says that it should be clear to the students what we're doing and demanding, that it should be displayed, and it should be personally meaningful. So when we post this and talk about this, we're meeting the expectations of the rubric. From an evaluator point of view, it's the first thing that we're looking for. Do they have their objectives posted? Is it communicated? Because it's the very first thing on the rubric. That's important. But what's more important is Marzano's research. So this is what Marzano says. Okay, he says that, so why does he say that? So I want you guys to read this and I'm going to ask you kind of what you think about this. So Mr. Miller, what does that mean to you?
Well, if you understand what you're trying to achieve, then you're more likely to focus in on that task and gain that knowledge.
100%. So as students, when we know what we're learning and why we're learning it, we can create compartments in our minds to say, okay, this is what I need to accomplish in this period. We go to a faculty meeting. What's the agenda? What are we covering today? Because we need to now set our framework up for what am I here for and why, and what time period. So if we're teaching without communicating where we're driving, the kids are figuring out where we're driving as we go. Oh, we just passed this, we just passed this. Maybe this is where we're going with it. So we do the what, the how, and the why. Not only because we're told by Ms. Goods and we're told by our administration. We do the how, the what, the how, and the why because it impacts student learning. That our brains as learners need to know the framework that I'm learning in. So the question is, how do we do it meaningfully? The problem with the structure or with the template that we all use is that if we don't use it with meaning, it just becomes something that we end up doing. When we end up doing it, we don't have buy-in on it ourselves. So we need to make sure we're communicating in an authentic way. So with your partners, and I'll with Mr. Miller here, just talk about all the different ways you can communicate it to your kids. All right. So how do you communicate your what, how, and why with your students? So with your partner, and Mr. Miller just talk about amongst yourselves. How do you talk to your kids? So they come in right away. That's kind of what they do. Right. Okay. So you're trying to draw back up on that. Do you ever have kids that talk about it or read it?
Asking for it, like a check.
How do you build relevancy like that whiteboard?
That's taught us to do it. Beginning, middle, and minimum of 3. And
Why we use this? You're stretching. You're going to need to learn someday.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
Especially when something like just things that they most likely aren't going to experience.
They're trying to make it all You guys want to wrap up your conversation? We're not going to do this because we only have 3 pairs. The activity is called pairs compare. So then you'll have your pair meet with another pair, and then you have a round robin. So then everybody has a chance to have buy-in, and then you can hear some more ideas. So pairs compare. If you're looking to do group work, sometimes you have a pair, and then you do pairs compare where you do like a mix that we did in the beginning.
Sure.
And then you have those 4 together. You say, that's your new group today. And so they know somebody because they chose their pair or their partner, and then they're with 2 other people they might not. So this is an easy way to kind of group.
That's cool.
They have that little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So we heard a lot of different ideas. Mr. Miller talked about how he's always trying to tie in what they learned to what they previously learned to draw some relevancy that way. What was something you guys discussed as far as an interesting way to make it important for the kids?
We were talking about, like, for the why section, I always try to make sure that I connect it to something that they're going to be able to do outside of my classroom.
Is that sometimes hard to do or no?
Not for reading. I know for other subjects it can be a little bit harder, but for reading it's pretty easy to get.
So you really focus on the relevancy part as why.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Dado brought an idea. She said, like, for the why, you can even leave it blank sometimes, and especially if the kids, if you're having trouble, say, why do you think you need to know this?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're making the personally meaningful to them on their own, That's sometimes more effective than us trying to make it personally meaningful for them. But that isn't always easy. Like, I don't need to know this. You know, why do I need to know past partisan? You know, what was that?
I wanted to tell Craig that what he.
Oh, I always, at the end of the class, I always do an exit ticket to see how well they actually mastered the skill. I actually have them do a self-assessment every day.
Mhm.
Did you master this skill? What are you struggling with? What did you
That's
do
great.
well? Just to check to see if they understood everything.
That's awesome. Next week we're doing assessments, and that's going to fit right in. That's awesome. What was something you guys talked about as far as communicating it effectively?
It was the why.
The why?
That, yeah, and you know, there are some parts of that we have to go over where, why am I doing this? When, Ms. Omito, when am I ever gonna use this?
Oh.
And it's, you know, at times it's a struggle of like, you're going to need it when you are doing your more advanced math.
Or it's the same why every day. You know, lots of times with math. You know, it's the same way. We're problem solving. You're gonna need this for math. You're gonna need this, and then you lose a little bit of the buy-in because it's the same sort of why all the time. And so again, we just want to do our best, whether the kids are reading it or where we're trying to, you know, we write it in student first language. But sometimes it's going to say, what does that mean to you? Can you put it in your own words? Can you put what our objective in your own words or what today? So spend the 2 or 3 minutes, or even minute and a half, of really trying to talk about that in your class, because that, what research says, helps them be able to then move forward in what they're going to learn that day.
So for Ms. Almeida, particularly for the math thing, Mr. Miller, and then if you contact Mr. Duffy at home, they have really great why relationships for like all different kinds of math functions that they shared in TAP.
Like real world relations?
Yeah, for like all the levels of math. There's like lots of whys for all the different math functions. And I was like, I saw that, and it's in a document somewhere.
I'm going to see Mr. Miller too.
It's really awesome.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
All right, so let's get back to our bell ring, what rigor is. There's a lot of definitions, and they're all a little bit different in different lengths. But they kind of dealt, when I was listening, around the same kind of topic. It says, oh, you know, makes it, you know, more, or you know, more engaged, or you know, stretching, which is a great word that deals with rigor. What rigor is the complexity in thinking it takes to solve a problem. So rigor is the complexity in thinking it takes to do a test or to do a project. So let's work. What is complexity? Complexity is not difficulty. So we're looking at rigor. Rigor is not difficulty. Difficulty is how much effort it takes to solve a problem. Difficulty is how many people can actually answer correctly. Difficulty is name the presents backwards in order. That's difficult. That's not rigorous. That's just someone, you know, difficult. Difficult is do these 200 math problems in 30 seconds. They may not be rigorous math problems, but it's difficult to do. Complexity is different types of thinking. So we look at demanding lessons or rigorous lessons. You want lessons where there's different types of thinking. Thinking where there's multiple answers, multiple ways to approach a problem, multiple ways that it can be addressed. So is your question you're asking the kids simple or is it complex? If it's complex, usually it means there's a higher amount of rigor, which usually means a higher amount of engagement and a higher amount of students personally invested. When it's low rigor, when it's very simple, there's low investment. So if you're just doing something simple, filling out a worksheet, low rigor, low investment. If you're taking notes only, low rigor, low investment. When you're creating a project or justifying your arguments, higher rigor, higher investment. I mean, the word is agency, student ownership of their learning. All right? So let's take a look at this. So I've seen these all over the building. If you know about them, these are called your DOK chart. There's 4 levels of thinking, and we'll get more into those. People have these charts posted. Oftentimes, teachers use it for the what. The DOK chart is not meant for your objective. These DOK charts are meant for your how. So you might have, I can solve subtraction problems by what? That's the level of thinking. So your DOK chart describes how the kids are thinking, not what they are doing. Ms. Klon mentioned like how she evaluates the objective. This is what you're going to assess at the end of the lesson. But this is how the kids are learning. So we all always focus on the what, but we don't focus on the how the kids are learning, and that's what teaching and learning is about. This is just what we're doing, what we're assessing. This is how we're thinking. So this DOK chart, and what we're looking at as teachers, we need to move away from that a little bit and really look at the process. So that's the goal. That's really what we're looking at today is how as teachers are we comfortable at extending and stretching that thinking or reducing that thinking as needed. So it's not the verb, it's not the difficulty level, it's what follows the verb. You know, it's the complexity. In our website, I'll go to, this kind of describes the 4 levels of thinking. And sometimes you need level 1. So you might have math class and you're trying to do this math problem, and all of a sudden you say, you know what, we need to go back to just doing some times tables. We need to review, we need to do recall before we're able to compare these math problems. There's skills and concepts where basically you take information, you start classifying it, comparing it, describing it. There's level 3 where then you start judging it, explaining it, synthesizing it. And then level 4 where it's over time, where you take multiple sources, you create something of your own based upon those. So those are the 4 levels. In the web page, and if you go to this one over here, Standards and Objectives, here's all the resources. The best resource that I have on here is probably this Web's Depth of Knowledge Guide. And in it, it breaks down each of the levels and gives you products, things you can do in your classroom the kids can create at that level, or different activities. So if you're looking at ways to, you know, like, how did this look in my classroom? This is a good resource. And while I'm on here, if you go to the PLCs, like let's go to last week's, it'll take me about a week or so, but when I update them, you guys were all here last week, but I'll put the video in, and then I'm not going to do an ed puzzle, because eventually I have to pay some money for it. I'm going to do a Google form. And so if you can't make it and you want the PGP, you got to do the Google form. You have to get 8 out of 10 on it. The form will ask you questions that are in the video and on the slides. So unless you get someone to really help you with the answers, you're probably going to have to watch the video and the slides. But if you just want to go in here and get the resources, you can. But if you want the PGP point and you missed PLCs, that's the way that you'll go about it. So let's go back to ours. I'm hoping it works out.
Well,
We'll see.
like I was asking last week on my little search.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't went to after school, but I'm not going to do the,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
People are sick or whatever.
So these are some of the resources in there, the things that we're familiar with. Here's some question stems you can have in your classroom. The idea is that, again, not every lesson's at a DOK 3 or 4, but that we as teachers are aware of the level that we're teaching at. We're aware of what goes on day after day in our classrooms. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do this rigor matrix. So here's an example. My what statement is I can analyze a poem. My how is by highlighting the metaphors. That's a DOK 1. I'm just identifying. I can analyze a poem by identifying the words I know, what I don't know, and words I think are important. So now I'm finding words and I'm categorizing them. That's a DOK 2. If you guys notice, the what is it the same? So that's why when you're getting evaluated, you say, I need to make sure I have a deep thinking lesson. It doesn't matter what's in your what. What matters is what's in your how. I can analyze a poem by highlighting passages and then justifying how they connect to a common theme. So now I have to identify passages, I have to categorize them, and I have to explain them. So that's a 3. And a 4 would be, again, over multiple time and multiple sources. I can create an original poem based upon the counterculture movement of the 50s and perform it. So that's where it's more like a project-based learning type of it could be a 2-day project, but it's where you take multiple sources and over multiple days to create something or synthesize something. A research paper is a 4, because a research paper is, these 5 sources that I have to synthesize information and create an original version of thought process. So that's why it's a 4.
How does that fit into your eval?
Yeah,
Because if it's something that's over time, but they're supposed to take a snapshot of one class period.
Well, yeah, so you may be, so say you're doing a project, right? You might have kids at all different pieces of that project. So I'm saying, if I was going to evaluate that thing, I might want to model a certain piece or review some information where I see some troubling, go over where we're at in the project, say like I know where I was at different levels. I'm going to group you guys based upon what levels you guys are at today. You guys work on those and still bring it to a close and say, all right, I want you to assess where you are in the project, and what are you going to do tomorrow.
Because I got docked one year for having something that was over multiple days, and they said you still need to have a clear beginning, middle, and end.
So
how do you do that if we're...
So you always want to, after you introduce the objective, you still want to always kind of at least model a piece of, again, maybe a piece where the kids are not doing as well, and then always bring it to a close. And again, you can always, any lesson, you can always assess what you learned today and what do you want to learn tomorrow. So you can always bring it close to, like, on the project, what did you get done today, and what do you think about it, and what are you going to do tomorrow with it. And on those evals, those are some descriptors they need to see. Like an art class. Every day art class is part of a giant project. They can't get out paint a perfect piece of art and wrap it up at the end of the period. They're always in a place. But I'll say you always need to address the class. What are we doing today? What are we focusing on today? And at the end of class, what do we get done? And so just those components, it's not ideal for every period. But we try to make sure you can incorporate it.
Here's what I found helped is that whether it's an unplanned or a planned evaluation, you should always have a unit plan where you're going with even an extended lesson that goes over multiple days. And so when they ask for that lesson plan, I always give them a unit plan and review
Or in scope.
Right. And so here's where we're headed. And here's where we're at. This is what you saw. And so that whoever's doing it, they can work that in. Sometimes they didn't, but
Yeah. Like last week we talked about sometimes people in email should all be looking and saying the same things, but that doesn't always happen.
remember, your life does not end on the day of an email that doesn't come out.
So what we're doing with this is
No, it will not.
we're not doing this like in order. I want you to think of a lesson, and it could be a lesson you have today. Look at your how, and write your what statement and your how statement and at the DOK level that it's at. So so if say you're having the kids compare today, that's going to be added too. So write your just pick any objective, any of what again, it could be one you have today, or one from yesterday, or one tomorrow. But write it in here where it belongs on your DOK level. And the way that you do that is go to your how and see where your how is in relation to this DOK wheel. All right? So let's walk around, and then when you get that, just let me know that you have that on there, and we'll take a look. So your what statement, again, your what statement could be anything, any Bloom's verbs. Your DOK is going to be based upon that wheel, the how. And please, do not think that you should have 3 lessons. If your DOK was a 1 today, or that's when you have one, that's completely fine. We just don't want to be in ones every day. Or we don't. That's the idea is that we are aware of the thinking in our rooms. And so, if anybody needs a pen, no, I enjoy it have a Chromebook and a pen. I feel like there's progress happening. It's almost like our how, our what, why, and how. No, it's always up there. But what isn't up there is how we're going to assess it. But we should know how we're going to assess it. There's a bunch of things that we know that they don't necessarily need to communicate.
I can collaborate with my group
To create. Now, there's some discussions earlier about does it have to be I can for all 3 categories. I think that was something that was pushed before. I talked to Ms. Dado, and she didn't say that had to be that way. Again, you want the most important part of your how and what, the what, the how, and the why is relevancy to the kids. How can you communicate in a way that they're building some sort of structure to learn? And if we're losing them in the language, you need to change the language.
I think you go back to my page because it all went away.
If you get stuck at all, let me know. You can just pick what you did today. What are the kids doing, and how are they learning? Find the how in the chart.
All right, so I'm just using what
Yeah, that's
we're
worked
doing
perfect.
today, and I feel like it goes with
That's what the kids doing.
So, this is the project we're working on.
Sorry.
Oh,
So that's how we teach all the different simulations. Today they started the project on this tape, and
sorry guys, this is what we're working on. Because they're still gonna work on these areas, so we create these things, and how we're doing it in the station. More specific on that. It's still like collaborating, or they're constructing, you know, they're using concepts, those are all. Especially when you have a project or you have center work, there's multiple things going on, you know, and so again, you can't take one little framework and say, this is what we're doing for everyone. It's just, so be broad and when you communicate, be specific.
See, I didn't know if it was acceptable to be that.
I mean, because you're still doing it, you're still working on creating this, it's taking multiple days. And, you know, it goes back to if you can communicate, if you're doing better than it, you can communicate to you what's happening. You're still in control. Each group, they have different objectives. Everyone now each table. They put together and they're working towards the same thing. Tell them what's happening. All right, so a lot of people have one done. Once you get one done, either work back and work back your scale or extend it depending upon it. So if I have students are going to compare leaders in Mussolini and Hitler, then to extend it, I'm going to say students are going to choose one of the leaders and justify why they were the most evil. All right? Or if I'm going to scale back, I would say students are going to identify which leader goes to what country. So once you have your DOK level, your lesson, try to scale it up or down a level. They get so you can get. You might do it individually. You might have a class. I'm like, Amita, like I know you got this already, but I want. I mean, you can scale up for them, extend them. You know, tell me why that's the best one. You know, or I might have kids struggling over here. You're comparing them. Well, let's start at the beginning. Well, what country was Hitler from? So that you can work your way up and down the ladder.
My lesson today, I'm not sure where it goes.
Okay.
Because it's about inference and prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, level 3, it says hypothesize. That's prediction. So what I had to do today was they watched the animated short
Okay.
with no audio.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to kind of watch.
That's awesome.
So they had to infer like what the motivation of the characters was.
Okay. So.
But then they had to hypothesize what they thought would happen.
Now, are they having to justify this answer at all?
Right. Yeah, they have to put some more together.
Oh, so that's definitely 3. Yeah. So again, if they had to infer it, just write down the actions. That'd be a 2. I'm seeing something. I'm taking that information I'm seeing and I'm categorizing the ideas. So now I have to justify why they're doing that. That takes it to the 3. So that might be your 2 answers. You know, as students are going to be able to, you know, construct ideas based upon the movements, and then to 3 would be to justify why that is. And then 4 would be, you know, we're going to watch multiple short, you know, silent films, and the kids are going to, you know, pick one and reenact it, you know, talk about something like that. Maybe even those stations might have different DOK levels. You might have one
Yes.
where they're just matching things or listing things. Maybe this one they're comparing things.
Yeah. I've never thought about it differently for each station.
Sometimes it's a little bit more work, but it runs a lot more smoothly when you just have like direction in each table.
Yeah.
And then you can say, before you ask any questions, read the directions. If you still don't understand it, talk to your colleagues.
Yeah.
If the whole table does not understand, then call me over.
Now our LPPL is sent to use action words like write, speak, so they
We're going to go 2 more minutes with you guys going up and down the DOK ladder.
So, this is what we were doing today. What did you want us to do?
I want to
screwed up.
So you're at the 4 on this one. So then work it down. What would look like at a 3? What would this look like at a 2?
It wouldn't, I would see them do it. I gave them.
So even this one would be more crazy. The 4 is going to be multiple sources and multiple things.
No, it's not.
The 4?
No, it's not.
It's extended thinking.
I gave them 3 topics and it says as a paragraph and they decide why it didn't sound like. Then they decided that it was because those were 3 unrelated topics, and so there were 3 different topic sentences. So I told them to choose one if those fit their personal experiences that they could write about. And then I explained the reason why they were different topic sentences to the sentences and a conclusion sentence. And then they had to write their paragraph.
I feel like that would be something that we would later on in the year when they have like more trust in each other and they class
No,
I didn't use,
well, I mean, I think he's right thought process, though, what they're doing.
yeah, I always trust, but, I mean, we're writing, so it's always there.
Yeah, always, yeah, so right
So I
now,
don't even do,
unless they're copying,
So they can put
writing's
things
always.
forwarded.
I know. And we don't copy, I mean, even when we're working from the book, we don't copy the questions.
They're always creating results, so they have to learn something, they have to be able to interpret it and then make it their own, which is always a treat.
So it's one thing I.
Unless it's a research paper
I
with
hated teachers that I told to copy the questions from the book. Why?
All right, so a lot of good stuff there. A lot of good conversations, and in the slides are just some more resources, some more examples. If you guys were looking to go up and down the ladder, what it could look like for different. There's art in here. There's a foreign language lesson in here, and there's some more resources as part of what that thinking looks like. Just with your tables, just kind of share what you have real quick. Just kind of talk about your lesson with each other, what your how was, what DOK level 3 was.
Because you were just that good.
Okay, so what was, I can participate in collaborative group discussions. So first, I have how I identify key topics in the outsiders. That was level 2. Level 2, like constructing a response to topics written in the outsiders. Number 3, developing an evidence-supported expectation for the outsiders. And then level 4, creating a standardized summary response and question topic.
I said I can describe the difference. So my level 1 was just define the two terms and identify the difference. I'm kind of in a 2 and a 3 there where it says watch an animated short and make an inference about character motivation and predict what will happen at the end. And then my 4 was create /pantomime skit that students would guess what happened in this actions.
So I gave them 3 unrelated topics that were like posted, sort of like a paragraph. And I didn't say, well, these aren't the paragraph. I made them read them and then try and offer up reasons, why does this sound right? And they automatically, I was very, very pleased with all 3 classes so far. Because they don't go together. They don't match. So I'm like, good, even though they were all about family relationships, they don't match. They're not the same. And so that wouldn't be a paragraph. It doesn't have any flow. I love that. So they were comparing, and he pointed out that that's a 3. Because I thought I was like out of 4 mostly writing. Because you're analyzing and you're comparing the 3 sentences, and then they want to personalize it to their personal experiences, and then write a race paragraph. That it's an actual race paragraph, but it's the, how writing it. Okay, so topic sentences are 1. Yeah, detail sentences are 2s. Conclusion is a 1 again. So then they did like a power writing.
Very good conversations, and we're going to wrap things up. Our bring back for next week, there's nothing they bring back physically, but I want you guys, I'm going to ask you when we get together, is pick a lesson that you did from the first week. What DOK level was it at? So throughout this week, our goal is to think about and be aware of what thinking is going on in our classroom, what level of thinking is going on in our classroom. And then we're going to come back and talk about that lesson, what DOK level was, and kind of about student engagement, how the lesson went. And the concept, again, is that our lessons should be demanding. They should be a high rigor. There should be thinking. You might not every lesson is always going to be that way. Your bell ringer might be recall, then you might get to justifying. You might get, it can go back and forth. But as long as we're aware of the thinking going on, that really empowers us as effective teachers. Ideas, comments, questions? I sincerely appreciate it when you guys choose to come to PD and be part of our collaboration and participate. So thank you guys very much.